Good afternoon and welcome to this session of international marketing strategies. We will be looking at trade theories today. As you would see in this slide, there are two kinds of trade theory. Classical country based theory, where you have mercantilism, absolute advantage, and comparative advantage. And then you have modern firm based theory, which is factor proportionate, country similarity, product life cycle, and global strategic rivalry theory. We will today see these three theories: mercantile, absolute advantage, and comparative advantage. Okay, so in the earlier times, in the 16th century, so they started thinking on the country which is very rich. For the first time, they started thinking, when will you call a country rich? Okay, so what happened was, at that point in time, there were no currency notes for each country. People were generally bartering stuff. I make a cobbler would make shoes, and a tailor would stitch, and they would exchange each other's service. A farmer would make corn, and a person would fish, and they would exchange corn for fish. So most of it was barter system. And if it was between the countries also, there are records that people from the European countries came to Kerala and gave spices and took elephants' ivory and went. So barter system. Okay. But if payment was needed, gold and silver were the forms of payment. So they had gold coins, silver coins with the head of the kings and queens printed in it, and they would trade that. Okay, so this mercantilism theory says that more gold and silver a country has, that is a country which is very wealthy. So this went on like this, 16th century. Okay, and in the 17th century, okay, Adam Smith, again he is from England. So at that time, the English were the power of knowledge. So the father of economics, he is known as Adam Smith. He published this Wealth of Nations in 1776. So what is with this Wealth of Nation? What did it say? It says, what if you have tons of gold and silver and you're just sitting on it? It's not going to increase. It's not going to give you wealth. It is just a locked asset. Only when an asset is traded, only then will you become rich. The very first tenet of trading, buying and selling goods for a cost, leads to economic wealth. This was the first person who thought about it. All your sales, marketing, all of that is after this. This was the first person. Adam Smith said, only when a country trades, buys and sells, sell for a cost, only then there will be wealth. Okay, he is given this barter system. As I mentioned, he said, if you give shoes, I give, then that is a barter system. So that is also trading. In the same way, he explained, if a country is trading, with another country, then they can make wealth. So the very first time association with trading, not international trading, any trading with money happened because of Adam Smith, and that's why he is known as the father of economics. According to Smith, he said, if one country has an absolute advantage over the other in one line of production, the other country has another absolute advantage in the other line of production, then both countries would gain by trading. What this means is, he says India has a lot of labor, so they can do labor oriented things like farming, okay, and some other country has a lot of timber, so they can just cut the timber, and they have an absolute advantage in that. So if they trade, then both of them will become wealthy. Okay, so let us see what he meant by absolute advantage. Okay, this is Adam Smith, absolute advantage. Who is Adam Smith? Why he is called the father of economics? And then let us go to what is absolute advantage. Okay, so absolute advantage says that a particular country can have an advantage over the other country, okay, when one country can produce a unit of good with lesser cost than the other country, then it has an absolute advantage of cost. Right? What is the, now let us understand over here one very important thing. One unit of good, that means supposing you are producing one chair, okay, and with less cost, now the inputs are cost or labor. Okay, cost is the cost of the product, labor is labor. Okay, so whichever country is able to make that chair with the least cost, it has the absolute advantage. Now let us go to agriculture. Whichever country has the best advantage, at least cost able to produce tea, it has the absolute advantage. Okay, cost is considered as the number of labor units used. Please understand this very clearly. These are also the limitations of the theory. Cost means only labor, because in the 17th century, cost of wood was not cost. They go to the all natural things are abundant. Anybody can go take it, and then only the labor is the cost. Today, is it like that? Even oxygen you have to pay. So at that point in time, in 1776, cost is considered to be the number of labor units. Cost in other costing itself was not evolved. So they did not have cost of transportation, cost of the basic ingredients, none of the above. Okay, so absolute advantage means whichever product you are able to do with the least labor cost. If you are able to do one chair with one person in 1 hour, if you are able to do bring out 100 kgs of tea with 5 laborers, like that, whichever has the advantage in terms of laborers, then you have an absolute advantage. Right. So let us see what is the example of an absolute advantage. A country that has absolute advantage in the production of a good, when it can produce more of that good than the other country with the same resource. As I told you, resource only means over here labor. France, 70 units of wine, 2 computers. US, 50 wine, 3 computers. So who has French has the advantage of producing wine, right? So this is their simple theory. Whoever with the least unit of labor can produce, then they have the absolute advantage. So what they said about absolute advantage, when you have an absolute advantage, then you trade that particular product with the other country, and then you will have the advantage over the other country, or you both the countries will help one another. Okay, so that is your absolute advantage, where one country is able to produce more and they are able to trade, right? Here the assumptions are that there is free trade. Next assumption is only labor is the cost. Okay, all those are disadvantages. All those are limitations of the model. Next one is comparative advantage. What is comparative advantage? The theory of comparative advantage was proposed by Ricardo. What he said was the countries should specialize in producing those goods of which they are relatively more efficient producers. These countries should then trade with the rest of the world to obtain needed commodities. If the countries do specialize this way, total world production will be greater and there will be harmony in the whole world. This was his theory. Now, what is the difference between this comparative advantage and absolute advantage? Comparative advantage, you see this, it is relative to the other country. Relative to the other country. That is, you should have opportunity cost time. You understood opportunity cost and time? So what is opportunity cost and time? When you are able to produce 5 units of wine, okay, in 5 days. France is able to make 5 units of wine in 5 days. In comparison to 3 units of computers in 5 days. Okay, this is opportunity cost of time. That means I am able to read in 5 hours, whereas I am able to read 30 pages in 5 hours, whereas I am only able to write 5 pages. So relatively I am better in reading than in writing. So I am better off to spend my time. I have an advantage by reading than by writing. This is just an example. Opportunity cost. In other words, let us take another example. I have 1,000 rupees. I have invested this in gold, and after 3 years I get 15% in profits. Same 1,000 rupees I have invested in stock, and after the same period of time I am getting 30%. So this 1,000 rupees opportunity cost is rather better off in stock market than in gold. So that is your opportunity cost. So look at this definition of comparative advantage. Comparative advantage refers to the ability of a country to produce a particular product or good or service at a lower opportunity cost. That's what I was explaining now, opportunity cost as compared to the others in the field. Okay, what are the assumptions? The assumption, the theory only considers labor cost, the same problem. Even over there, only labor cost. All labors are homogeneous, they are all paid the same way. See how this theory is so flat in today's point of view. Okay, and then they have other assumptions like the payment is the same for all, and full employment to the country, and then it's in a fixed geography and the labor is used to production. All these are assumptions. Okay, so the criticism for this is, you can write your own criticisms. Labor is not the only cost. There are hundreds of other costs. Today transportation cost is more, designing cost is more, and labor is so heterogeneous. There are people who get 100 rupees paid per hour and then 5,000 rupees paid per hour. So these are all the criticisms. Okay, and then another important thing is the growth. After doing these things, you can only trade when you have more excess of what your country needs. Not everything is up for trading. So all these things are criticisms for this particular theory. So we have seen what is trade theory and how trade is linked to generation of wealth. And then we have seen 3 trade theories: mercantilism, absolute advantage, comparative advantage. These are all classical theories which are very old. Modern theories we will see in the next session. Thank you.